Call this February 3rd work session to order. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Toole,
Second.
Mr. Hammack, all in favor? Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, board members. Several wonderful things going on in our school system right now. And so we want to just highlight a few of those items. Of course, we want to thank the board of commission, and of course our staff that's worked so diligently over the last several months to get the work done to have an MOU provided for your consideration and for your approval. And we look forward to moving forward now with the SRO process. I think you're going to hear a little bit more from that tonight when Dr. Yancey presents. And we just appreciate everybody's good work on that, and want to certainly highlight Justin Kofer and Kevin Yancey for their outstanding work, research, and information that I know the board appreciates, and has shared that with each of them. Appreciate you guys taking that step, and we look forward to seeing that come to fruition in the years to come. A few other items. It is National School Counseling Week, and so that began today. We want to celebrate and show our appreciation for our 21 counselors across our 12 schools. And I think that's the first from the board area. All right, there you go. You know, we know that they make a great difference in the lives of students every day, and appreciate the outstanding work that they do and the support that they have from our parents and our administrators here. It is also CTAE month as well as Black History Month this month, and so our schools will have a variety of activities and events celebrating those months. And the kids will certainly celebrate this next one. Winter break is on February 14th and 17th for our students, and then our schools are shut down for the February 17th. School system's completely shut down. So our teachers and students will be out on 14th and 17th, and then the system is closed on the 17th as well. A few more other items. I want to again commend our outstanding leaders, teachers, and students. As you probably have seen on social media, we have the College and Career Ready Performance Index, we call CCRPI, and for the first time in our district history, all 21 schools recording an overall grade of an A. And so thank you, outstanding work by our schools, and to our knowledge, we are the only district in the state that has that across the board. So outstanding work, and we know that if we're going to be measured on the outstanding outcomes of our students, then we're always okay with that, because that's what we're here for, is teaching and learning and getting kids where they need to be. Great day today, which will continue tomorrow with one of our business partners, Walton EMC. They spent several hours today traveling around to our schools, along with Dr. Stansel and Mr. Cockwood, to present 5, I believe, of the 7 grants that will be, or 7 schools that will be visited, for total grants $36,690 to 7 schools, 13 teachers, and 9 different projects. So we want to show our appreciation for them and the extended learning opportunities that those grants create. Finally, kindergarten registration is March 10th through the 14th. That's been promoted at our schools, on our website, and through all of our social media channels. Screening are scheduled for March 31st through April 1st. And Ms. Whitaker's giving me the nod, so that means I got the dates correct. And we look forward to welcoming those newest students coming our way. Finally, winter sports are wrapping up, headed towards postseason, so that can only mean that spring sports are beginning. And so we do have a lot of practices, events, and several scrimmages and games that begin for our spring sports. So it's a busy, exciting time. Would encourage the board and all of our community members to come out and support our students as they continue to take advantage of the variety of opportunities provided them through sports and extracurricular activities that we know make a significant difference in not only their academic achievement, but their overall experience. That'll conclude superintendent's report unless there's questions.
Next, we have presentations and discussions, and we'll start with teaching and learning report. Dr. Stansel, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. Dr. Branch. The February 2025 Teaching and Learning Report contains 2 items of information and no action items. The first item of information is an update on our STAR students. Ian Rogers of North Oconee High School and Jenny Hu of Oconee County High School have been selected as the STAR students for 24-25. The STAR program is designed to recognize high school seniors who have the highest SAT scores in their graduating class. Rogers chose Scott Smith, and Hu selected Jake Forrester as their STAR teachers. Rogers and Hu will be joined by their counterparts from Athens Academy, Prince Avenue, and Westminster Christian Academy at the county STAR Student Breakfast next month. The second item of information is an update on our district spelling bee. Congratulations to Sunil Doshi of Oconee County Middle on winning the district spelling bee for the 2nd consecutive year on Friday. He successfully spelled centipede and quota in the final round. Sunil will compete next in the Region 7 Spelling Bee in Eatonton on February 27th. The runner-up was Matthew Yee from Rocky Branch Elementary. All 9 finalists from our elementary and middle schools did an amazing job. And that concludes our teaching and learning report, unless there are any questions.
I want to hear Justin Kofer spell centipede. Can we do that? Can we do that real quick?
Thank you, Dr. Stansel. Student services.
Good evening, Dr. Branch and board members. The February 2025 Student Services Report includes 3 items of information and no action items. The first item of information is an update on the school choice timeline for the 25-26 school year. We received a total of 142 school choice applications for the upcoming school year. As a reminder, the school choice applications became available Friday, November the 22nd, and families had until Friday, January 17th at 4 p.m. to submit their applications. Decision letters were mailed on Friday, January the 24th, and our school choice information has been shared with school leaders, human resources, and teaching and learning teams to prepare for our course registration and allotments for the 25-26 school year. The second item of information is our annual participation in the survey system from the Georgia Department of Education. The Georgia School Climate Surveys aim to measure the quality of life by evaluating student and adult experiences related to academics, relationship, safety, and the learning environment. Surveys are offered to 4 groups of stakeholders: students, teachers, staff, and families. The parent survey window opened on December the 2nd and will remain open until March 31st. The teacher and staff surveys began on January the 6th, and the student surveys, which are administered to students in grades 3 through 12, opened today. Principals sent home student survey information to parents and guardians via email on January the 6th, and in this communications, parents and guardians were provided with survey information and information on how to opt out their children from the survey process. Third item of information is an update on the district's memorandum of understanding with the Oconee County Board of Commissioners and the Oconee County Sheriff regarding the School Resource Officer Program. Board members, as you are aware, last Wednesday, January 29th, you were part of a joint meeting with Oconee County Board of Commissioners. At that meeting, both parties agreed to an MOU to establish a School Resource Officer Program for Oconee County Schools. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for your commitment to seeing that process through. The implementation of the School Resource Officer Program will enhance our comprehensive safety efforts to ensure a safe learning environment for our students and staff. Additionally, I would like to thank Sheriff Hale and his team for their ongoing collaboration with us in creating the MOU. Sheriff Hale is currently working to fill the newly established positions to ensure we have the most qualified and skilled SROs in our schools. This concludes Student Services report, unless you have any questions.
I'd like to say thank you for all the hard work on the SRO. I know there was a lot of research and discussions that were behind it, so thank you very much for that.
Yes, sir. Mr. Kofor had a big hand in that as well.
Thank you. Next, we have special education with Ms. Korngold.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Branch. Special Education Department has one information item and no action items for the February 3rd board meeting tonight. Individuals with Disabilities Act, which is required under IDEA, the state agency has to make a determination annually in the areas of significant disproportionality under identification, placement, and discipline of students with disabilities. The state has a performance plan, and each LEA has an annual report card that evaluates the data from the state that we're required to give. These are 4 components, and it's 4A, 4B, 9, and 10 that's part of the performance plan. What is chosen here is the identification, how we choose students under each of the exceptionalities, their placement, if they're placed less or more than 40% in the regular educational placement, and then discipline. And discipline now is ages 3 for preschool through 5, as well as elementary, middle, and high. It used to be 6th through 12th, but now it's including the preschool students. So these are the areas of disproportionality that we have to do data on each year. This is where the data is taken from the FTE periods, for identification, for placement. Our discipline is lag data from the year before. With all the data that was been collected under each of these areas, Oconee County has been 100% compliance for their disproportionality. If we were disproportionality, then part of the budget would have to go into 15% to cover supports in general education. We'd have to take our federal funds, but we have never had to do that. Questions?
Thank you, Ms. Korngold. Next, we have technology with Mr. McCullers.
Thank you, Mr. Ransom. Good evening, board members, Dr. Branch. The Oconee County Schools Technology Services Report for February 3rd, 2025 includes no information items and 2 action items for the February 10th, 2025 Board of Education meeting. Our first action item is laptop computers. Virtucom will continue to honor the pricing from the request for proposal approved by the Board of Education at the February 12th, 2024 regular session. The proposed purchase includes 262 HP ProBook 440 G11 laptop computers at a total cost of $198,596. The superintendent's recommendation is that the board approve Virtucom's bid of $198,596 for the purchase of these laptops. This project will be funded through ELOST and general fund dollars. Our second action item is desktop computers. Bytespeed's pricing for desktop computers is based on the approved statewide contract number, and I apologize for having to read this, 9999-SPD-SPD00000161-0002. The proposed purchase includes 111 desktop computers at a total cost of $88,245. Superintendent's recommendation is that the board approve Bytespeed's bid for $88,245 for the purchase of these desktop computers. Again, these projects will be funded through ELOST and general fund dollars. That concludes the technology services report, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have at this time.
Thank you, Mr. McCullers.
Thank you.
Operations from Dr. White.
Sir. Good evening, board members and Dr. Branch. Operations has 5 items of information for this evening. The first informational item for operations is an update on our energy report. Our kilowatt usage per day for 1,000 square feet has been updated for the month of December. The second informational item is our transportation update. For the previous month, we had 58 field trips, 14 athletic trips, 20 special education trips, 105 buses deployed, for a total of 5,311 miles. Our third item of information is an update on school nutrition participation for the month of January. Board members will see we saw a decrease in participation of breakfast of 0.25% and an increase of lunch participation of 2.12% as compared to January of 2024. Our fourth item of information are our 6 new buses. Board members, you'll see one of the buses out the windows that we are proud to showcase this evening. We are very excited to have our new buses to add to our fleet and for the positive experiences that our students and drivers will have. And our fifth item of information is our annual state inspections. The Transportation Department earned a 100% pass rate on all buses by the Georgia Department of Public Safety. Many thanks to Rick Burns, John McElroy, Neil Wilson, Jeff Wilkes, Jim Acock, Kane Ellis, Dr. Deborah Shelton, Mark Parsons, Tammy Umbauer, Tammy Sanderlin, Joe Wilson, Frank Shiver, Angela Shiver, Ashley Cagle, Tommy McCullers, and DPS officers McKern and Moat. And that concludes the operations report, unless there are any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Ricketson.
Good evening. The Oconee County Schools Operations and Facilities February 3rd, 2025 Board of Education report contains 2 items of information and no action items for the February 10th Board of Education meeting. First item of information is the lead custodian meeting. The January lead custodian meeting was held on Thursday, January 9th, and was hosted by the team at Malcolm Bridge Elementary School. The team discussed the proper use of ice melt and cleaning dust mop and wet mop heads. Our custodial teams are to be commended for their rigorous work, ensuring that our schools are clean for health. Information item number 2 is construction update. Continue to show the picture of the ISC. The contractor made a great bit of progress over the month of January, taking advantage of the Martin Luther King weekend and also some of the good weather we had this weekend, getting some things done. We're down to the last few remaining items, and they're pushing hard to get a lot of those done this week. Next is the district-wide generator project. I'm happy to report that 5 of the 9 generators have arrived. That came in a little ahead of schedule. We're waiting on the other 4 and preparing to install the 5 that we have. So we'll be rolling in the spring, finishing that project up as we go. That concludes facilities report, unless there are any questions.
I have a question about the generators, and great job with that. That was a big task. I know you've been working on it for a while. As far as what they will power, can you tell us a little bit more about that? This isn't to power the whole school if the power's out, right? This is more for specific areas?
Correct. Specifically, they're to power the freezer and coolers so that if we have an extended power outage, we don't lose our food inventory. All the buildings are designed to operate off battery power for life safety systems, but they will not power the school.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ricketson. Next, we have business services, Mr. Adams.
I know you all are tired of me. Good evening, board members and Dr. Branch. The Oconee County Schools Business Services Report for February 3rd work session contains 1 action item. Our action item is ratification of the resolution to opt out of HB 581. Oconee County Schools recommends opting out of HB 581. The law requires the intent to opt out be advertised in a newspaper of general circulation and show evidence of public hearings. The board is required to hold 3 hearings for the purpose of listening to the public on any thoughts they may have on this matter. The first hearing was on January 23rd at 6 p.m. The second hearing was on January 28th at 6 p.m. And the third and final hearing was earlier today at 4 p.m. The hearing dates and times were posted on the school district website, social media accounts, and in general circulation newspapers, and all requirements have been satisfied for the adoption of the resolution. I ask the superintendent recommend ratifying approval of the resolution to opt out of HB 581. That concludes my presentation, unless there are any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Cocker, communications.
Thank you, Mr. Ransom. Good evening, board members and Dr. Branch. The communications report this evening has 3 items of information. The first is January social media views. Oconee County Schools had 41 social media posts in January. The average number of views was 21,866. 4 of the top 5 posts for the month were weather-related, with an average of 76,757 and a high of 105,071. These posts were helped along by the community with more than 1,000 shares. 4 of the top 16 posts for the month came from recognitions at board meetings, with an average of 29,900 views and a high of 47,525. We thank the board for earmarking that time to celebrate students, teachers, and leaders. For the month, 13 posts averaged 20,000 views, and 28 posts averaged 10,000 views. OCS gained 1,003 followers in January, giving the district more than 22,570 followers across the 3 platforms. The number of followers on Instagram eclipsed 8,000 for the first time. In addition, the OCS newsletter released on January 28th had 8,549 unique opens, which is a rate of 69.3%. The industry average for education is 40%. We thank the parents, students, community members, businesses, and media outlets that follow and engage with our social media accounts. The second item of information is the Congressional App Challenge. Representative Mike Collins of Georgia's 10th District selected North Oconee's Alex Wong, Pablo Badra, and Nicholas Avilar as the winners with a study guide app that they developed. These 3 young men will be traveling soon to Washington, D.C. to display their app. The third item of information is the January 2025 highlights video. And that concludes communications, unless there are any questions for me.
Thank you, Mr. Colquitt.
Thank you.
Next, we have action items. Dr. Branch.
Yes, sir. We would recommend the board vote to approve the ratification of opting out of House Bill 581.
Any comments?
I'll make a comment. Yes. Make sure I'm close enough to my microphone. I did just want to take some time since we had people come to our hearings and voice their comments, which I just want to say that I appreciate everyone that attended the hearings, the Oconee Republican Party meeting on this subject, talked with me individually, and shared their opinions. I realize that most people, including me and my family, don't like paying more in taxes. Like many at the hearings, my dad and many of my clients are older and on a fixed income, so I understand the impact of tax increases on them. And I believe we are very fortunate in Oconee County. We have a strong financial position. I believe in the near future, we will be okay whether we opt out or if we don't opt out. What I'm not sure about is the long-term future, and that gives me pause because we only have this one time to opt out. And I've taken a lot of time to think about this. And I wanted to go back to and just comment on the timeline that the opt-out discussion really started because of the board. We brought that to the superintendent's attention and wanted to go down that path, and that the language that was used in the ad that said we had the intent to opt out was the required language, but none of us had yet fully formed an opinion one way or the other. But again, going back to the future, and I wasn't on the school board at the time of the recession and the austerity cuts that took place and furlough days that had to happen, but I asked people that were around then, and find out that at that time, the state delivered less funding that had been allocated, and then local school systems had to make up the difference or make cuts. And I certainly believe in tightening your belt when it's required, but when 90% of our funding goes to people, I believe it's difficult to make cuts that don't impact our teachers and the services delivered to our students. I also believe this legislation will limit options if in the future state funding is decreased. There are many things that local revenue covers now that doesn't qualify for state funding because our community stakeholders had positions and services that they valued and that they wanted, and they made that known to us. So I also have concerns, as Ryan has brought up, about the 5 mil fair share that reduces our state funding and how it's calculated versus the new inflation adjustment at the local level. I also think at some time in the future it can negatively impact our seniors who benefit from our local recently revised homestead exemptions. If in the future the school system needs to raise the millage rate, that could increase taxes for the seniors. So most of my concerns deal with the future and the unknown, risks that are hard to plan for besides having reserves and options. I want to respect the voters who voted in favor of this constitutional amendment. I realize that it passed with 64.25%. As one voter told me, though, he voted in support of it because it had the provision for local government entities to opt out if they felt it was in their best interest. Because I do believe we have a strong financial position currently and can manage the directives in the short term, I would like to commit to start the budgeting process under the terms of House Bill 581. But because I am concerned about the limitations to funding this could impose on our school system in the future, I believe I'm going to vote to opt out.
I would like to make a comment as well. I just wanted to thank Peter for the thoroughness that he put into the presentations. We had 3 great hearings. Thank you to everybody who came out to that, and also to all the board members who have looked at this in a very critical way. I appreciate the thoughtfulness that everyone has put into this. You know, I tried to go into that hearing process with an open mind. I said that from the very beginning, and also at the cornerstone of my decision-making, I knew I could not set aside the fact that 64% of the public voted for this. And not only that, but I find value in the homestead exemption. I think we have a great opportunity here to provide protection and a little relief for our homeowners and our residential taxpayers out there. And that includes our teachers. Our teachers will benefit and see a savings from this. And I think that's a good thing as well. So, you know, at the end of the day, I think voters put some guardrails up. They wanted to see us when we come to our budgetary decision-making process. They wanted to say, here's some guardrails for you. And one of the reasons that I feel confidently about the homestead exemption is because I think we have a great team. We have a great staff member with Peter and Dr. Branch, and I think we could use those guardrails and we could figure out how to meet what the taxpayers and the voters want to see while also staying within a budget that they want to see as well. So I just want to thank everyone for the great input throughout this process, and it's a very complex issue, and we appreciate all of your feedback throughout this.
Yeah. One of the things going through this process, we had a whole lot of discussion, some for, some against, respectfully, of course. But at the end of it, I can only tell you what, you know, I would do, and we'll vote on that in just a little bit, and you'll get to see that. But I actually voted for HB 581 when it came through. I actually went and voted for it. And then I read it, and I understood that I'm here to take care of the school system and to do my best to understand, to make certain that it's good for future generations to come. I know some people really, you know, want us to take this exemption. To your point, Adam, 64 people voted for it. I was one of those people. But there's too much inconsistency or too many unknowns that we don't know right now. And rather than taking just an educated guess, I would rather have those variables known. So what I would tell anybody who disagrees with how we vote or don't vote, come to our budget hearings. Hold us accountable. See if we can figure out how to do what HB 581 wants to do, but do it locally. And I appreciate everybody, Peter, everybody involved that gave us the information that we needed. Thank you all.
Thank you. Any other discussion? I need a motion on the recommendation to opt out.
So moved.
Mr. Toole. Need a second?
Second.
Mr. Hammock. All in favor? Tool, Hammock, Ransom, and Parrish. Any opposed? Mr. Hammond? Passes 4-1. We do have a need to go into executive session, and I need a motion to do so.
I will make a motion that the board will adjourn to executive session to discuss or deliberate upon personnel matters as described on the affidavit to be attached to the minutes.
I will second.
All in favor? Passes 5-0.